Hi there, I hope you're really well. My name's Paul Smith from Touchstone Education. I'm one of the founders here at Touchstone Education. I'm 56 now and I bought my first investment property when I was just 23 years old. So that means I've been a professional landlord now for 33 years. So many landlords are feeling so much pain at the moment. I don't know what your pain is, but there's a fair likelihood you're feeling pain. That what I want to do is I want to share with you now, today, the number one strategy that's going to take all that pain away. What I'd like to do is, over the next 10 minutes or so, share with you the number one property strategy that you need to learn all about if you want to be a successful professional landlord. So what is this strategy? This strategy is rent to buy. So you've maybe heard a little bit about it. What I want to do now is take you through the kind of A to Z process of why rent to buy is such a good idea, how it works, and let's talk about a kind of hypothetical example to make sure we all understand what we're talking about here. From the top, right the way down to the bottom. Let's dig under why rent to buy is such a big deal. I'm sure you're aware there's a housing crisis in the UK. In order to keep up with demand, we'd need to be building more than 1,300,000 houses every single year, but we're barely building 140,000. So there's this huge pent-up demand for homes, for houses, for flats that's not being met. The population's going up and up and up. I was born in the mid-1960s, 1964, and the population of the UK then was 50 odd million. In a few short years, we're going to hit 70 million. So simple version, a load more people, not enough houses, which has led to huge house price increases. A lot of people in this country that want to buy a property, but they can't. Why not? Two main reasons. One is they haven't got the deposit, and the second is they've potentially got some sort of issue with their credit score, maybe a CCJ, something like that. There's a massive, massive market if you can offer the right product to that market. You as a professional landlord, me as a professional landlord, and maybe you're not even a landlord at all yet, but you want the profit from property, but you don't want the pain, because there's quite a lot of pain if you don't know what you're doing. What we do is we offer a flat or a house that we've got on a buy-to-let mortgage to someone to buy, but not to buy it now, to buy it over the next 7 or perhaps 10 years. Why 7 to 10 years? Well, it takes 7 years to clean up a blotted credit history. So in an extreme case, if you've been declared bankrupt, for instance, 7 years later, the slate is wiped clean and you can now go and get a mortgage. The other reason for that 7 years, over that 7 years, you can pay a little bit of extra money every month, and it's called a top up, and then those 7 years of payment adds up to a nice 10% deposit on the property that you're in. So I want to give you some actual numbers here. Here we have my good friends, Sam and Charlotte. Sam and Charlotte would like to buy a house, but Sam and Charlotte can't buy this house because they don't have a deposit. And Sam and Charlotte have got all sorts of plans for their life. One of their plans involved making some little Sam and Charlottes. And what they would like is they would like a lovely home over here so that the little Sam and Charlottes can live there as a happy family with them forevermore. Let's have a think about how long it takes to buy a house. Most people that do buy houses or flats will take 25 years because it will take a 25-year mortgage. But you can even get 30-year mortgages these days. So really, given that Sam and Charlotte are so, relatively speaking compared to me anyway, young, whether they take 20 years, 30 years, or even 35 years to actually end up owning their dream home doesn't really make any difference to them. And think what a difference it will make to their pockets where they're living now is just a little 2-bedroom flat. And this little 2-bedroom flat where they live in now, very nice, but it's not really set up for the sort of family they want. No garden, that sort of stuff. They are currently paying for this little 2-bedroom flat. That's costing them £850 a month. It's not unusual to have, flats even in London could be £1,000 or more. So you could think, well, lucky old Sam and Charlotte. But when they buy their dream home over here, which costs £150,000, typically 2% interest rate on the mortgage. So what they're actually going to be paying in interest, £150,000, they're going to be paying £3,000 a year. £3,000 a year divided by 12 months, that's 250 quid a month in interest. All the rest of the money is going towards paying off that mortgage. So you can see from the tenant's perspective, you can see from Sam and Charlotte's perspective, why this is so fantastically attractive. So if you want to make money, in my view, it's a pretty good idea to have a strong demand and a great product. So you've clearly got a massive demand from people that want to go and buy houses but can't. And if you can bridge that gap, and if you can help the Sams and Charlottes and the little Sams and Charlottes to actually have lovely homes, you're onto a winner. Now, why is it good from a landlord's perspective, you're probably thinking? Okay, so let's get a little bit technical. Let's say that this house is currently worth £150,000. By how much does the average house in the average part of the UK go up on average? That's a lot of averages, isn't it? And the answer is 4%, according to RICS, Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. So on day one, we, the landlords, agree with Sam and Charlotte that they can buy the property, and let's go with the 7 years example. They can buy the property in 7 years' time, and the price that they pay won't be £150,000 because that's what it's worth today, but we're going to increase the price of this house by 4% a year. So in 7 years' time, it won't be worth £150,000, it will be worth 4%, 7 times, which is roughly 31% more. Can I cheat a little bit just for the purpose of this video? And let's call it a third. So 33% of 150,000 is 50,000. So the agreed purchase price on day one in 7 years' time will be £200,000. How on earth are Sam and Charlotte going to find £200,000 when they haven't even got a deposit now? Well, here's the clever bit. What they do is they pay the normal rent for the next 7 years, and they pay a top up. Now, to make sure they can buy the house, we want to make sure they've got a nice 10%, £20,000 deposit to buy the house in 7 years' time. So what we do is we take the £20,000, we divide it by the 7 years, we divide it by the 12 months, which is 84, by the way, 7 12s are 84. So the £20,000 gets divided by 84, and here's the number, £238 a month. If they put to one side 238 quid. Now, here's the thing, Sam and Charlotte, both smart people, they're both working, they're both very determined, they want kids and all that sort of thing. They will find a way to save up £238 a month. And we want them to have that £238 a month and your rent top of their list. Not bottom of the list, top of the list. So you might be thinking, well, how on earth can a normal person find an extra 238 quid over and above the rent? Easy. 238 quid divided by 30 days is £7.90 a day, £7.93. Let's say Sam and Charlotte go to Costa Coffee or McDonald's or anything really. There isn't a single working person in the whole of the UK that can't find £7.93 if they really, really, really want to. That's the top up. And why are all these things good for you as a landlord? Well, that top up goes into something called a client account, so it's protected. So you can't have it unless they don't pay the rent. If they damage the house, don't pay the rent, the contract says all of that top up becomes yours. So let's say they've been living there for 3.5 years. So that means they'll have saved up £10,000. Do you really think they're not going to pay you the rent and jeopardise £10,000 of their money? No chance. Paying you the rent and the top up is going to be the most important thing in their financial lives, guaranteed. From day one, they, not you, are responsible for the maintenance. So imagine a landlord's life where you've got 0 arrears, 0 maintenance, 0 voids, that's landlord speak for empty periods. So added up together, most landlords lose 25% of their income to cover letting agents' fees, voids, damage, arrears, and all that kind of stuff. So instead of having 100% of the rent minus 25% of the rent and then trying to pay your mortgage, you've got 100% of the rent, pay your mortgage. And often you'll find that the profit from a rent to buy property is getting on for twice what it is for a buy to let property, because you just don't have any of these problems. Because you don't have to spend any money on maintenance. And in fact, let me share a story, because this just shocked me and amazed me. A couple of years ago now, we moved a lovely rent to buy tenant into one of our little 2-bedroom properties. Do you know what she did? She applied for planning permission, she built an extension. Have any of you ever had an extension built on your house by a tenant? I mean, what a first world problem to have. Oh my God, they're improving my house. I've heard stories of tenants knocking down extensions. I've never heard tenants building extensions and putting in double glazing and all the rest of it before I got to rent to buy. Oh, what's the wrap on this video? What's the next step? What are we doing now? Okay, so what have we been talking about? Let's just wrap it up. Let's just summarize. I hope by now you're interested in rent to buy and you understand the basics. You know, I'm certain there's a load of people out there that would like to buy homes, but they can't because of either bad credit or no mortgages. You understand why it needs to be 7 years. You understand how the top-up works. You also understand there's a pile of legal documentation that is critical to make this happen. You can go and do it yourself, spend £7,000 on it, or you can listen out for more videos from me on this subject and let's learn more about it together. As always, you've been wonderful. I've been Paul. See you out there soon in Rent to Buy land. Bye for now.